Hello and welcome to Strange Talk with Doc. I know it's been a minute since the last time that we've spoke together. I took some time off just to recuperate from the holidays, to take it easy, to give myself a chance to really work on this end of 2020 Strange Talk with Doc podcast. So we have a lot of things to go through. I'm not going to keep you very long. I hope some people call in. I don't know if they will or not, but that's neither here nor there. That's not on me. But I would like to thank you for your support. I would like to thank you for keeping Strange Talk with Doc on the air. I would like to thank you very much for all your feedback, your emails, your messages, etc. I appreciate you. If nobody's going to tell you today that they appreciate you, Doc appreciates your support. I will tell you that much. I mean, it's been quite a year, 2020. There's a lot of things to go through in this year. Some good, some bad, some indifferent, some absolutely insane. But if you're hearing my voice by the grace of whatever God that you pray to, whatever God that you say thank you to, you have made it through this year that has been like no other year in your entire life. Well, I can't really state that as fact, but I'm going to assume that 2020 has been like no year that you've ever lived through before. And I hope that you never have to live through another year quite like this one again. So let's get to some things, okay? Worldwide, there have been 80,893,000 confirmed cases of COVID 19. 1.8 million people have died worldwide. The United States of America has 19,411,000 confirmed cases and growing, 341,000 deaths. Uh, COVID has been pretty much the story of the year, give or take a bunch of other stories. Let's not forget the pandemic caused a worldwide lockdown. For the first time in my life, pretty much the world went on lockdown, minus a few countries who decided they were going to go with herd immunity and things of that nature. But pretty much the world locked down. I had never seen a time where you could get on the highway and be by yourself in a car and drive for miles and really not see anybody. And I'm talking about on a Monday through Friday. Even in New York 9/11, during that time, things still, to certain degrees and outer boroughs, remain status quo. Now, I'm not saying lower Manhattan, midtown Manhattan, for a couple of days, things ceased. But for the most part, the world didn't stop. We could still find toilet paper. We could still find things in grocery stores. We didn't have to wait in long lines. This was quite a thing. 2020 gave us the George Floyd "I cannot breathe" incident, which caused riots, unrest. It started the Black Lives Matter protest movement. It also gave us Breonna Taylor. And I'm going to skip forward because there were 47 unarmed black men in America who were shot and killed by cops in 2020. So this has been a hell of a year to be a black male in America because tensions have been high, things have been out of control. I would like to also say Mr. Jacob Brooks was killed by the police, or Mr. Aubrey was killed by the police. Uh, there's it's just been hell, man. The stock market crashed due to COVID, people not going to work, things of that nature. 2020 is also the year of the election. Biden, Harris versus Trump and Pence. Not only was it the year of the election for the presidency and vice president of the United States of America, it also caused Donald J. Trump to go on a Twitter binge. It caused him to also lose his mind as far as the election being fraudulent. He did a lot of things. He said a lot of bad things. He's constantly in the news for ridiculous things, lawsuits. Rudy Giuliani has made a fool of himself. He's given out tons of pardons at the 11th hour because he wants to think that he could do something to protect himself against prosecution that is probably going to come from the Southern District of New York. But that's what it is. We lost Kobe Bryant in a helicopter crash early 2020. Him and I believe 7 or 8 other people, including his daughter, all passed away in this helicopter crash. I believe this was around Super Bowl Sunday. I mean, or the Sunday before the Super Bowl. I mean, it was shocking. It took over the news. It was a big deal. Nobody expected to lose Kobe at such a young age. Uh, it was a very tragic moment, but something that has to be recalled for 2020. You can't talk about this year and not talk about the fact that Kobe died in a helicopter crash. The Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl. That was normal. This was pre lockdown. LSU won the NCAA football championship, also pre lockdown. Then all sports went into a lockdown for quite a while. The NBA had the NBA and the WNBA had to do what they called a bubble, where the Los Angeles Lakers were crowned the champions inside the bubble for the NBA. They actually pulled the bubble off. It worked. Nobody got sick. Nobody died. The players were allowed to finish out the season. We were able to actually watch basketball games in the middle of the day, something that hasn't happened in years. I'm talking years. I remember when the NBA was not a big deal, Major League Baseball was not a big deal, and they actually used to have afternoon games. So we actually had afternoon games for a while. It was something to keep us a little bit distracted from what was going on in the world. The UFC created what was called Fight Island. And up until like the last week, which I guess the UFC just took off for the end of the year, they actually made it through most of the pandemic lockdown by still having decent fight cards. They had this Island in Abu Dhabi. I believe they pulled off like 40 events during COVID. Sure, they lost a couple of main events here and there. They lost a couple of fights here and there because people tested positive for the virus. But for the most part, they actually made it through. You know, Major League Baseball had to have a shortened season. I believe they went to only a 62 game season, which the Los Angeles Dodgers brought home the World Series to make LA a double champion this year. And they actually made it through up until the very last game where I believe a Dodger player tested positive for COVID. But at the time, the Dodgers had already clinched the World Series, and this fool came out on the field, and that was a whole big thing. But they actually made it through a season. We've grown accustomed to wearing masks. We used to look at some of the Asian countries and laugh and giggle and blah 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 about them wearing masks on their face, but masks became almost a universal thing in 2020 for Americans. I still wear masks as of today everywhere I go. I make sure that I have one because most businesses request that you still continue to mask up if you want to shop there, if you want to be inside. And I don't blame them because this thing is not over. We'll get into some other aspects of this later on, but this is the deal. Okay. We also had mass employment. I mean, the unemployment rate reached scales that were not since 19 late 1920s, early 1930s during the Great Depression. We reached where they had to give additional funds to people on unemployment because there were so many Americans. Something like 70 million Americans were unemployed, not because their jobs went out of business, but because the jobs no longer could open, so they couldn't really afford to pay people. Amazon went through the roof because people needed to order products. They needed some kind of normality. And to be able to get packages at your home made you feel at least a little bit normal. So, I mean, I'm guilty. I ordered a lot of things via Amazon this year myself because I needed some things, and there were some things that I just couldn't go to the market and get. So I appreciate Amazon for that. And they made their funds, so, good for them. Karen and Ken continue to go crazy during 2020. There are too many Karens and there was too many Kens to actually mention, but they went crazy. 2020, I don't know if it was because they were stir crazy, they were stuck at home with the children, or because the vibe, because we had so much racial tension. We had the Proud Boys, we had Antifa, we had rioting in Seattle, Washington, New York, Philadelphia, you name it, California, all across America, people were up in arms. It was a very tense situation. We still have an inauguration coming, which I'm hoping will be very peaceful. But when you have somebody like Donald Trump in office and he does not preach peace, but he preaches discord, it riles people up, especially people who are already on the fringes of society, just waiting for something to spark their fuse. So, you know, Harry and Meghan also stepped back from the royal family in 2020. I believe he stepped down as Prince Harry, and she's no longer Princess Meghan. I'm not going to get too much into that, but that's just a news story from 2020. The UK formally withdrew from the United Union, the European Union, I'm sorry. So the UK is no longer a part of the European Union. That does not affect me one way or another. I mean, I guess it would affect people who are British citizens and they're no longer able to maybe travel around Europe as they once were because they no longer part of the union. But that has nothing, like I said, it's just news and I'm just passing off. I don't have an opinion here or there on that. Harvey Harvey Weinstein was found guilty of rape and sexual assault. This man has been on trial for quite a while. I believe he still has some more cases coming up, and I believe they're going to throw the book at him so hard that he won't be able to be dug from underneath this, and he'll probably spend the rest of his entire life on earth incarcerated. And this is what he did. This is a jury of his peers found him guilty, and that's the bottom line on that. We also had this year Jerry Epstein hung himself at the Manhattan Detention Center. Naturally, this comes with a lot of conspiracy theories. The lady that was with him, Giselle, I believe her name is, she is now locked up in federal holding, awaiting trial. But Jerry is dead. And from the things that were said about how he conducted himself, he seemed to be quite the evil man. So I don't even say goodbye to Jerry. It is what it is. We in America received, as of 12/30/2020, one six $1,200 stimulus check. Now, Congress, Senate, Trump, they all went to the board, and at the 11th hour, they decided that another stimulus check will be coming out. I mean, we are talking months, Americans, months, and a grand total of maybe less than $2,000 will be given to the constituents of this country, and they want to say that they care. It's an abomination. It's a shame. They should all be ashamed on both sides of the table. There's nobody that looks good in this. I still am not clear. Some reports say that we're going to get $2,000. Other reports say it's only going to be $600. I'm very happy that this bill was signed at least so that the people that was getting the additional unemployment benefits will continue to receive those additional $300 a week unemployment benefits. That is money that people really need to survive because we are getting ready to run out where the time where people are saved from evictions safe from having their lights, gas, and water turned off due to the end of December being at hand is almost over. And unless somebody re-signs these bills in certain states, and if states are opening up, they're going to require people to go back to work. And everybody's not ready to go back to work because this vaccine is out there, but the general public is really not receiving it. And if they are receiving it, it's at a very slow rate. I don't know anybody as of yet who has received it other than people who are in the medical field or first responders. And everybody I know is not either one. So as of now, I really don't know what to say. We don't know what's what as far as this vaccine. I read a report this morning that a nurse who received the vaccine has tested positive for COVID. I thought we were supposed to be vaccinated against getting COVID. Now, I understand that it wouldn't cure COVID. Yes, I understand that. It does not cure COVID, but it's supposed to be a vaccination to stop you from getting COVID, yet this nurse still got it. So there are still a lot of questions. And I believe this particular vaccine that I'm talking about is from Pfizer. I don't know about the other two as of yet. Race relationships in the United States of America have reached an all time low in my lifetime, an all time absolute low, where it almost felt like us against them, them against us. White people feel like they have to apologize for shit that they didn't do. Black people feel like we have to walk on eggshells more than we normally have to do. So this has been a hell of a trying year. And I don't know where we go from here because, like I said earlier, a lot of people fuses have been lit. I don't know if they can be defused anymore. I think they are set out there like seek and destroy missiles. And I don't know. And I'm wishing for the best for all of us. I'm wishing for a peaceful existence in this country like it used to be. At least the problems we had, we were used to those problems. Now to have these other problems where people feel like they need to just go buck wild and show up places open carry for no reason and things of that nature to intimidate, to scare, to say, you know what, I hate you because of who you are, not because of who you are as an individual, but because of who you are, what you were born. And they used to be in the closet. Now it's right there on Front Street, and nobody even has to bother about hiding anymore. And that's what makes it terribly scary because when you have Trump with these crazy Twitter rants that he goes on over and over again, when you have Trump with these crazy racist rallies, we also tried to impeach Trump in 2020. It failed. It was a colossal waste of time. It was a colossal waste of energy, money, effort, news reporting. It was just ridiculous. Nobody really came out at him until after they were either fired or had book deals, and it didn't really make a lot of sense to me. I mean, you know what? It was the 11th hour. The push should have been to vote him out of office and get it over with and not worry so much about impeaching him. But this is what they chose to do. They chose to deflect from situation where hundreds of thousands of people were dying, hundreds of thousands of people were going homeless, broke, didn't know what they was going to eat, how they were going to eat, how they were going to pay their rent, and they focused on impeaching a man who only had a couple of months left in office. You know, well, Kanye couldn't go through the year without having a meltdown. And I'm not a gossip monger, I'm not a rumor spiller. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on Kanye West. I just am stating the facts. In 2020, Kanye had a pretty much a meltdown. He tried to run for president. So if somebody listened to this in 10 years from now, 2020 was the time that Kanye tried to run for president. He had a mental breakdown for a little while. He seems to be back doing what he's doing, and I wish him nothing but the best. I really don't care one way or the other what Kanye does. I just wish that he would relax when it comes to presidential elections, so his stands don't go out of their way to try to vote for him and take votes away from anybody who's competent. You know, Amadou Aubrey was murdered in Georgia, and those father and son and that other man are awaiting trial, and we hoping for the best. See, this is stuff that I might have to talk about in 2021, 2022, when these trials actually take place. But rest in peace, Mr. Aubrey. We had a rash of black people at one point in time in this country who were found hung in public places. And it was kind of bizarre. It was not talked about a lot. It was brushed off in the media. One or two of them, they said that they were actually suicides. I did not do a lot of backstory on that. I'm just bringing it up because, once again, this is a story of 2020, and you can't talk about the year without talking about certain things, right? Breonna Taylor was killed, but the officers were not charged. This Cameron in Kentucky uh, is a abomination of an attorney general. This guy, not only is he so deep in the Republican Party pocket, he's so deep in Trump's pocket that he actually spoke at the Republican National Convention. So we knew not to have faith in this dude at all. I mean, he's snaky as they come. I have no respect for him. To not even charge the officers and see that if the due process would find them guilty of anything, but to exonerate them to the point where one of the officers is now suing the state of Kentucky because he feels like he's been mistreated when a young lady has been killed makes no sense. 2020, Donald Trump and Melania Trump both tested positive for COVID, which he announced via Twitter. His son Donald Jr. also tested positive. Trump goes in the hospital within a day or two. He makes a dramatic exit. He gets them to drive him through town in his limo so he can wave to people. Then he stands on the arch and dramatically removes his mask as though it was Captain America revealing himself. What a fucking clown this Donald J. Trump is. I am so glad to see him go. We had the presidential and vice presidential debates. The first presidential debate was actually ridiculous. Ridiculous. The second one was held with a lot more control by both sides, but the first one was out of control. The vice president debate, Kamala Harris versus Mike Pence. Pence just spouted falsehoods. Kamala had to shush him a couple of times. It was quite entertaining TV, but I'm glad that's over. The right people won, and I am happy for that. The Supreme Court, because Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away this year, had to get a new justice. And the justice that they picked was Amy Coney Barrett. She has now been placed as one of the Chief Justices of the United States of America Supreme Court. And I can't really say congratulations to her because a lot of her policies and politics and way of thinking do not line up with my way of thinking, but that is the reality. And it's fine. Pope Francis had a very interesting year this year. He said some pro gay, some pro LGBTQ statements in 2020. He welcomed them into the family. He assured other people that they are truly God's children, which they are. I don't understand why anybody would have fault with that. When you look at a gay person, you can't just see sexuality. You must see humanity first. What they choose to do in their bedroom, as long as it's consenting adults, is really none of your or my business. I don't care. I refuse to care. It's got nothing to do with me. So, in that manner, I am very proud of the Pope for sitting back and actually speaking up for people who don't have a voice. They needed to be, people need to hear things like this from powerful religious leaders across the globe. And you don't really get much more powerful than Pope Francis, right? I already mentioned the Dodgers won the World Series. We had to sit back for the first time in my entire life. The election was on a Tuesday, November the 3rd, a Tuesday. We had to wait for the official results of the 2020 presidential election to Saturday. I mean, think about that. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then like in the middle of the day, Saturday, finally Electoral College gave Joe Biden and Kamala Harris the necessary numbers to win the White House. And like I said, Trump has fought him in court. He has lost case after case after case. He has claimed fraud. He is still claiming fraud. But I think by now he is understanding that that bitter pill that he has to swallow as a one-term president is a reality. So goodbye to him. Okay. Like I said, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, 2020, were voted as the president and vice president of the United States. When I also mentioned Trump refused to concede, I believe still as of today, 12/30, 2020, he has not officially conceded anything. He is still waiting for some 11th hour congressional vote stating that they will not co-stamp the electoral college vote, which is ridiculous. We've had COVID-19 vaccinations come out by Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca. Now, this is three different companies, three different forms of the vaccination, three different forms of maybe side effects. And on top of it, you have a lot of people who are anti vaxxer who are still, because of conspiracy theory, scared to take it, refuse to take it unless they're going to have their hands forced. I mean, I don't want to go into all those conspiracies because there's just entirely too many. Some people believe that they're getting a chip put in them. Some people believe that it's going to be tracking. Some people believe end of days. There's just too many to go through. And I believe a lot of them don't make any sense. So I'm not going to touch it. But we do have three forms of vaccinations out there. And I am waiting for the general public to start getting their hands on this. I mean, it's been about a week or two, maybe even 3 weeks as of now, since these have come out. So we want to see how long it takes for these to actually get to Joe Citizen and Jane Citizen, right? Nigeria had a boarding school attack where hundreds of kids were captured and murdered. And thankfully, a bunch of these children, hundreds of these children, were returned. But I just wanted to bring that up because that's what it is. 2020, we got the rise of the radical group, the Proud Boys, the Antifa, and some people consider the BLM, the Black Lives Matter movement, to be radical groups. And they all had a rise. And I don't think that any of them are going away anytime soon unless laws come up that will state that they are a hate group. Other than that, they will still be around. Okay. Pro wrestling had to go to no crowds. And I'm going to tip my hat to the WWE by putting on some outstanding shows with no fans in attendance, but with this thing called the Thunderdome, where they have these monitors with people from their homes looking like they're in the stands. And the wrestlers have brought it for the most part. They've had some off days here and there, some off Mondays, some off Fridays. But WWE, UFC, NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, they have done their part. They have not given you a watered down version of their product. They have played their hearts out. And I appreciate all of them for that. I really appreciate all of them for that. 2020 gave us the breakout. I mean, I knew it existed beforehand, but it really went crazy with the cancel culture movement. You were canceled if you do X, Y, and Z. Are there some people who deserve to have uh, some roadblocks put in their career? Sure, because they have done some outlandish and said some foolish things. The Ice Cubes, the big boy from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Terry Crews, some outlandish and some stupid things. Ben Carson, you can look them up yourself, but there have been a lot of bad things said. There have been a lot of questionable things said, especially by black people in defense of Donald Trump, in defense of the Republican Party. And not to say that you cannot be black and not be Republican and not be a straight thinker. Yes, you can. You just shouldn't be a member of a cult where your thought is controlled by somebody else. You know, we just had the Nashville bombing. That man murdered himself in a suicide bombing, and I'm glad that the fatality rate was very, very minimal. I am so glad that not a lot of people, this was not done during the week. This was not done during rush hour there. It wasn't done during, you know, a time where it would be heavily populated. He picked a time where I don't know what his point was, what he was trying to get across, but it looked like he didn't even want to do the maximum damage he could do. He wanted to do the minimum damage. And for that, I appreciate it. I wish he wouldn't have done any damage, but to do the least that you can do in that situation is cool by me. There are going to be some reciprocity laws changing starting January 2nd, 2021. Virginia, up until this point, has been allowing people to file for non resident gun license in the state of Virginia without actually having to go to the range. But starting January 2nd, that will change. You will now have to prove that you're proficient in firearm safety by going to a range, which means other than you doing it in your home state, which now makes more sense than using Virginia reciprocity law, I believe that we'll see where this goes. We shall see where this goes because me personally, I did a show on this. I gave the ins, the outs, the step by step of what you should do and how you can go about getting this non resident carry license, concealed carry license, which I received my copy in the mail less than a week ago. So it's not a myth. It was not a lie. It was not some kind of conspiracy that I was trying to spread. I believe that everybody who can carry a firearm should have the right to carry a firearm. And if you need to get the license, you should have jumped on the chance to get the license. Like I said, I did this show over 6 months ago. That I might have mailed my copy out on a Thursday, and I did a show on Saturday going blow by blow of everything that I did, how much it cost to do what I did. And sure enough, Virginia came through. It was like I said, I went to the mailbox, I believe it was Friday, last Friday, and in the mailbox, boom, there was my license. Good for 5 years. So let's talk about some lighter subjects. Now, these are what I'm going to consider to be the best TV shows and movies that I have watched and viewed in 2020. In no particular order, mind you. This is nothing in any particular order. The Five Bloods, uh, outstanding. I really enjoyed it. John Lewis, Good Trouble. The Beastie Boys story. Disclosure. The Last Dance. Everybody and their mother seen The Last Dance. The Gangs of London. Lovecraft Country. F is for Family. Tiger King. 2020 was the year of Tiger King. Last Chance U, which was their very last season. Hunters, which was an Amazon program. The Killer Inside, the mind of Aaron Hernandez. Bully, Coward, Victim, the story of Roy Cohn. You can't get enough stories of Roy Cohn. What an interesting guy. Bob Hart's Abishola. I know I'm like a year late on this, but I just found it this year, and I enjoy this little comedy that's on CBS. I think it's pretty good. Then Where's My Roy Cohn? Peaky Blinders. Now, I was way behind on this. I had never seen Peaky Blinders, but I watched Peaky Blinders and I marathoned it. One thing about the pandemic, it allowed you to marathon shows that you didn't think about ever watching. So I said, let me give this Peaky Blinders a chance. And boy, I couldn't get enough of it. I'm so glad that I found it. I really enjoyed it. And I can't wait for next season's episode. Pose. We all know Pose. And then there's also a show called Legendary. Legendary is the ballroom culture, but pretty much a dance competition of the ballroom culture, the walking, the dancing, and all that kind of thing. So it was very good. Curb Your Enthusiasms last season was very good. Dracula. There was a Dracula, brand new Dracula miniseries. I found it outstanding. It was a different take on Dracula as we know him. Bulletproof, an English program that I truly enjoyed. Top Boy, another English program that I enjoyed. Blue Story, another British UK story that I enjoyed. Hard Knocks, the Chargers and the Rams. They split it up between both teams due to COVID. Very outstanding. I enjoyed it. I never seen this show and watched all 9 seasons during the marathon COVID pandemic. The Office. The Office was outstanding. I think it's one of the best comedies ever. It's interesting. The characters are crazy. Fargo, another show that I had never seen. I got turned on to the show because Chris Rock was on it. So I said, let me check out what this is with Chris Rock. So I watched season 4 and then wound up saying to myself, you know what? You watch season 4, why don't you watch 1, 2, and 3? Which I did. This Is Us, always outstanding. We on season 5. Boardwalk Empire, another show that I had never watched prior to COVID-19. Now I have watched the whole series and I really enjoy it. If you guys got any suggestions of a TV show that I should watch, because we still don't have a lot of television out there, please hit me up. Send me a message. Go to my website. Go to email me. Tell me about a show. I'll give it a try. I'll give it a chance and I'll review it. Okay? Saturday Night Live during Trump's election campaign, the aftermath has been outstanding television. I really like it. Better Call Saul's, a show that I had bailed on 2 years ago, so I didn't watch season 4 and I didn't watch season 5, but I got back into it and I'm really pissed off at myself that I didn't watch the show when I was watching it because Better Call Saul is outstanding television. Family Guy, always great. I love the Family Guy. I've been there since day one, well, pretty much since day one, and I'll be there to the end. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Chadwick Boseman had some good shit in his last year of life, and rest in peace to him. So Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which I just seen about a week or so ago, was outstanding. I really, really, really enjoyed that. The Stand, a TV show that is on now, something called CBS Access. It's a Stephen King book. I'm enjoying that, but I have to go week to week. So the next episode is actually on New Year's Eve. I can't wait for that tomorrow. The Ripper. I watched The Ripper. That was a very good little mini series. I mean, it's a documentary, so don't expect it to be with actors, but it was a documentary and it was done, and it's about a guy who was killing women in England. And so I wanted to see that. And Krampus. some horror film with some crazy Santa. We just coming out of Christmas, right? So I wanted to see some different Christmas movies. So I watched Krampus, and I put that in my, every couple of years I could watch Krampus again. Jingle Jangle, A Christmas Journey, a very lighthearted, whiz type Christmas carol that's not overly Christmas. I really enjoyed it. Forrest Whitaker was great. I did not expect to see Forrest Whitaker in a role where he was dancing and singing and stuff like that, but he pulled it off, and the show was very good. I am now watching a show called The Boys. The Boys is crazy. It's about a group of superheroes who are really the worst superheroes in the world. Not because they don't have the abilities that you normally associate with superheroes, it's because they're horrible people. One's a racist, one's a dope addict, one's a rapist. I mean, they kill indiscriminately. If you've not seen The Boys, give The Boys a chance. And last but not least, a movie called Charm City Kings. Meek Mill is actually in this movie. He's playing, the OG type character. It's about the dirt bike crews from Charm City, which is Baltimore. So I enjoyed that a lot. Now we're gonna get to some music, and we're gonna say some rest in peace, and then we're gonna go. And like I said, once again, this is Strange Talk with Doc. You can find me any. I am back to doing my normal Monday shows every Monday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All the information is on my website. A link to my website will be attached anywhere that you can listen to this. I don't care if it's on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Google. If talk show. If it is, this show is listed, my link is there. And that's how you can contact me. That's how you can find out if you want to come on the show, if you would like to be a guest, hawk a product, disagree with me about something, because this is not a party where you have to agree with what I say. I am not the end all be all. I only own my opinion. Your opinion is totally yours, and you're free to have it. So these are what I consider to be the best albums of 2020. Fiona Apple, Fetch the Bolt Cutters. Bob Dylan, Rough and Rowdy Ways. Pearl Jam, Gigaton. The Strokes, The New Abnormal. The Weeknd, After Hours. Eminem, Music to Be Murdered By. Not the B side. I said Music to Be Murdered By. The regular sides. Okay? Alanis Morissette, Such Pretty Folks in the Road. Metallica and the San Francisco Symphony, S&M 2. Jadakiss, Ignatius. Katy Perry, Smile. Nas, Ultra Black. Ellie Goulding, The Brightest Blue. Machine Gun Kelly, Tickets to My Downfall. Public Enemy, What You Gonna Do When the Grid Goes Down. The Killers, Imploding the Mirage. The Psychedelic Furs, Made of Rain. Patti Smythe, It's About Time. Exhibit, Be Real, and Dimerick, Serial Killers presents The Summer of Sam. Black Thought, Screams of Thought, Volume 3, Cain and Abel. Aloe Black, All Love, Everything. Bruce Springsteen, Letter to You. Tears for Fears, The Seed of Love, the Super Deluxe Edition. This is like a greatest hits album of the Tears for Fears, and I enjoyed it very much. Sade, This Far. Sade was somebody that I had not really got into for years. I never really got it when I was young, but hearing this whole album, this collaboration album of them all thrown together, and she is great. And I'm never gonna take say another bad word about Sade or her music again. She's shown me. Sam Smith, Love Goals. Buster Rhymes, Extension Level Event 2, The Wrath of God. This is a fantastic. Buster Rhymes should be very proud of himself. KRS One, I Am Hip Hop. This is 2 hours and some change of somebody thrown together all of KRS One's biggest hits. Some of the stuff that I had never heard before in my life. I mean, it was great and I really enjoyed it. And it's one of my favorite albums of the year. Taylor Swift, Folklore. I did say that correct. Taylor Swift, Folklore. I really enjoyed this album. Joyner Lucas, ADHD. Joyner Lucas, Evolution. Halsey, Halsey, Maniac. Manic, I'm sorry. Katy Perry again, Cosmic Energy. The Rolling Stones, Blue and Lonesome. This is not going to be a normal Rolling Stones album. This is a strictly blues version album from the Stones, and they did it well. There's nothing that they tried to embarrass themselves. They did not try to uh, ape or imitate uh, old black blues players. They pulled this off, and they pulled it off well. Nina Simone, the very best of Nina Simone. Anytime you can get a greatest hits album of Nina Simone, you got a good piece of work in your hand and a treasure to your ears, your mind, and your heart. Miley Cyrus, Plastic Hearts. Taylor Swift, once again, Evermore. I like both of her albums that she released this year. And KRS-One, who just dropped an album about a week ago called Between the Protests. That is a fantastic album. I'm still listening to it. It's in my rotation. And once again, I will be back January. Let's check the calendar here. January the 4th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to go back to doing my show once a week. And I appreciate you being there with me. We've lost a lot of people this year, people. We lost the COVID-19 victims and we're continuing to lose them. So I say rest in peace. And I'm just going to shout some names out and I'm going to get out of here. Kobe Bryant, Mr. John Lewis, Reverend C.T. Vivian, Rocky Johnson, Chadwick Boseman. I'm not going to say anything to you. Andre Harrell, Little Richard, Jerry Stiller, Vera Lynn, Jerry Sloan, Shad Gaspar. Pierre Cardin just died. The 47 Unarmed Men, Bill Negro, my buddy, my friend, Anthony Forte, rest in peace, brother. Bob Watson, Don Shula, Curly Neal, Willie Woods, Lou Brock, Chuck Yeager, Anthony Chisholm from Oz, Fred Dean, Eddie Van Halen, Dale Sayers, Pop Smoke, Janae Du Bois, Roger Mayweather, Bill Withers, Harold Finkel, Pat Patterson, David Squiggy Lauder, George Floyd, Abdul Aubrey, Breonna Taylor, Naya Rivera, Bonnie Pointer. I would like to say rest in peace to these people, and there are more. You can see the complete list of my in memoriam on my website. It will be listed. You could see each and every name, and I don't have anybody on this list that I'm saying rest in peace to that I don't mean it. Road Warrior Animal, rest in peace. Kirk Douglas, rest in peace. Bill Withers, you meant so much to me as a child, rest in peace. I mean, some of these people really hurt my heart that we lost, especially the COVID-19 victims, people who didn't do anything wrong but just tried to live. I want you to try to live. I want you to stay safe. I want you to stay clean. I want you to mask up, keep your social distancing. We're in this fight together, my friend. We are all in this fight together, and not one of us can make it through this fight without the help of each other. So I say to you, like I say to you each and every time, people, I would like for you to have peace. I would like yours to have peace, and I will hear and see and speak to you again shortly.
You know what this is?
A commercial?
Right, and you know what that means.
Time for a snack?
Wrong. I want you to do some heart-healthy exercise. Yes, you! Try some seated leg extensions right now. Just lift each leg up and extend it straight, one at a time, 6 to 8 times.
I can do that.
Yes, you can. Remember, every commercial is a chance to sneak in heart-healthy activity. Visit findexerciseanywhere.com and speak with your doctor to learn more about the risks of heart failure.